Subscribe to Man Told for more stories. Now, let's begin this one. 3 in the morning. I'm standing in the kitchen. The bank statement has slipped to the floor. It stretches out like a map, leading straight to one name, Dylan Hayes. Upstairs, laughter drifts down from the lit bedroom. Keys clattering fast. Food wrappers crinkling. So alive. So careless. Like this was his house. And me, I'm the one sleeping on the couch. The one called too uptight for asking a simple question. Hey, could you chip in a little for the electric bill? Natalie, my wife, steps in behind me, arms crossed, voice sharp. You're overreacting. He's my brother. I don't answer. My eyes stay locked on the number, $6,210. Pulled from the joint account we opened to save for a baby. It's not what you think, she says again. But this time, I don't bother asking. I used to believe patience was enough. That if I stayed kind, stayed quiet, things would get better. That her brother was just going through a rough patch. That my wife was still holding things together. But $6,000 isn't temporary. Keeping it from me for 8 months isn't a mistake. And being treated like I was selfish, just for wanting respect in my own home, that's not a misunderstanding anymore. I pour a glass of water. Drink slow. My hands tremble, not just from the cold, but from something harder to name. The moment I realize I don't have a choice anymore. I used to think family was the one place you never had to explain yourself. Turns out, it's also the first place you can be pushed aside, without warning. I don't know what waits for me next. But standing there, in that cold kitchen at 3 a.m., I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't stay another night. My name is Stuart Monroe, 39. I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm a systems engineer for a software company, working from home ever since the pandemic. Not too much stress, decent pay, and most of all, I get to work inside the house I loved, next to the woman I once believed was my whole world. Natalie, my wife, is an elementary school teacher. Light brown hair, tied up neat for class, loose after hours. Most evenings, when I walked out of my office, the kitchen smelled like barbecue chicken or apple pie, recipes she learned from her mother. But what I remember most were Sunday mornings. She'd sit on the balcony, gray sweater hanging loose, a cup of tea in her hand, trimming little lavender stems in the wooden planter, humming an old country song. That sound was the gentlest thing I'd ever known. It made me believe I had finally found home. Natalie was always gentle. She spoke little. She listened more, and she almost never raised her voice. Even when we disagreed, she'd just sigh and quietly walk upstairs. No shouting, no drama, just silence. The kind that made me feel I was the one who had to take a hard look at myself. We married when I was 32, not love at first sight. More like a grown-up bond. Two people tired of half relationships. We wanted something solid. A home, a family, a peace that was real. The first 4 years of marriage, smooth as a river. Not rich, not poor, not fancy, but stable. We had a savings jar labeled Baby Fund. Natalie wrote it on a pink sticker, stuck it on the glass with that shy smile, and eyes that lit up. She wanted a little girl. She already had the name, Ellie. Me, I just wanted a healthy child. We'd picked the hospital, asked doctors for advice, even calculated monthly expenses. Both of us believed next year would be the perfect time. But that time never came. And everything began to shift one spring day, when Natalie called me in the middle of work, her voice shaky. Dylan broke up with his girlfriend. He lost his place. I think maybe he should stay with us for a while. I hesitated, not because I didn't want to help, but because I'd seen how a man who moved in for a few weeks could end up staying a year. Still, Natalie rarely asked for anything, and that trembling in her voice, I couldn't say no. All right. But just a few weeks, right? Yeah, I already told him. He just needs to rest for a bit. Dylan showed up that Saturday morning. A backpack, a few clothes, an old laptop. He looked tired, scruffy, spoke softly, avoided eye contact. I shook his hand, patted his shoulder. Stay here for a while. You'll get back on your feet. The first week, things were fine. He ate dinner with us, helped cut vegetables, even said thank you at every meal. And I thought to myself, a man who says thank you can't be all that bad. But then, the signs started showing. By the third week, A gaming chair arrived, the kind I'd always wanted but never bought. Then came a set of Bluetooth speakers, then a mini fridge. My little office turned into a gamer's cave, though I never once saw him stream. When I asked Natalie, "Where's all this stuff coming from?" she just said, "Probably his savings." I didn't want to doubt, but I started to feel out of place in my own home. Each morning, I'd wake up, make coffee, sit alone in the kitchen, while Dylan laughed with his friends through a headset upstairs. At 2 in the morning, I'd pass his door, see the glow of the screen through the crack. He slept through the day, lived at night, like we were in two different worlds. One evening, I opened the cabinet, looking for that savings jar, our baby fund, the one Natalie once labeled in pink, with the name Ellie written in purple ink. Our daughter's name, if it's a girl, she had said. I traced my finger across the letters. The ink already fading, the jar empty. No deposits in over 6 months. Just like our talks about having kids. Gone, without goodbye. I once believed that if I stayed responsible, stayed patient, stayed trusting, things would fix themselves. But trust doesn't survive on its own. It needs care. Attention, not neglect. Not left to wither like the lavender on that balcony, where Natalie used to sing every Sunday morning. Now, nobody goes out there anymore. I can't remember the exact moment I started feeling like a stranger, but I remember clearly the morning I realized I was no longer needed in the very home I built. It was a Wednesday night, light rain outside. I'd just finished a tense meeting, back aching from too many hours in the chair. As I stepped out of my office, the smell of cheese pulled me toward the kitchen. A large pizza box, still hot, sitting open on the table. I didn't order it. Natalie was upstairs, teaching a Zoom class. That left only one person. I glanced at the trash can. Empty wing box, 2 soda cans, crumpled napkins, and the receipt, clear as red ink on a whiteboard. $58.74. Paid with a MasterCard ending in 9217. I froze. That was the card Natalie had made for me. A secondary card, linked to our joint account. The one we used for household expenses. I rushed to my wallet. The card was still there, not lost, not borrowed. But inside, I felt a chill, like someone had used a spare key to enter my home while I wasn't there. I opened the banking app, scrolled through the history. Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub. 7 orders in just 2 weeks. Each one $40 to $80. Nearly 400 total, all after midnight. No text, no call, no asking. I looked up at the ceiling. The light glowing from Dylan's room, keys clicking, screen flashing through the crack. I grabbed the receipt, knocked on his door. "Come in," his voice called out, flat, not even pausing the game. I stepped inside. LED lights washed the room in shifting colors. Gaming chair facing the monitor, headset crooked on his ear. He spun halfway toward me, smiling like nothing mattered. "What's up?" I held up the receipt, my voice steady. What is it?" He glanced, shrugged. "Oh, thought that was Natalie's card. She ordered before. Maybe the app saved the info. Didn't notice. And you used it 7 more times after that." Yeah, guess so." I figured it was fine. I looked at him, not angry, not yelling. Just the same way you'd watch a glass slip from your hand, knowing it will shatter even before it hits the ground. If you need something, you can ask. But this is joint money. It's not just lying around for convenience. "Sorry, I'll pay it back. I was just hungry. Didn't want to bother anyone." He said it, while his hand stayed on the mouse, fingers gliding, eyes flicking back to the screen. No shame, no respect, nothing. I left the room, went back to my desk. I didn't open the laptop, didn't eat, just sat there, staring at that card in my hand. The card that once bought milk for Natalie every Sunday, paid the doctor when she was sick, covered the gray dress she loved last Christmas. Now, it was being used for late-night wings and Pepsi. Some things can't be measured in dollars. But when someone abuses your kindness, they don't just take money, they take the meaning behind it. I set the card down, turned off my phone, not because I wanted rest, but because I knew, tomorrow, I'd have to do something I never thought I would. The next morning, I woke earlier than usual. Not for work. I hadn't slept all night. That conversation with Dylan kept replaying. His casual laugh, his shrug, his shameless eyes. I brewed coffee, sat in the kitchen, White light hitting the smooth table. Rain tapping against the glass roof. Natalie walked out of the bedroom. Beige work clothes. Hair tied up. Like always. She poured herself coffee. Sat down across from me. Looked for a moment. You're up early. Couldn't sleep. Her brows tightened. What's wrong? I slid the receipt across the table. She glanced down. Her breath caught. No questions. No pretending. I know about that. Dylan told me. I froze. You knew. And you said nothing to me. He said it was a mistake. I already told him to be careful next time. And the times before? Why didn't you tell me then? Natalie set her cup down. Fingers tightening. Because I knew you'd react like this. React how? Mad. No. I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. Because you knew. And you didn't stand with me. Stuart. He's my brother. He's going through a really hard time. I can't let him be attacked for it. I'm not attacking him. I just want us to face reality. It's been nearly a year, Nat. And all the cost, money and emotional, falls on me. You're keeping score with family. No, I'm trying to save this family. By keeping it from being used. She turned away. Turned on the sink, though nothing was in it. Her shoulders tensed. Then slowly dropped. You don't understand Dylan. He's not strong like you. He needs time. And what about me? Who gives me time? She froze. I stood. Stepped closer. My voice low. I don't need you to fix everything for me. But I need you to stand with me. Otherwise, I'm just the gatekeeper. And you're the one holding the door open. Natalie looked at me, eyes glistening. He's my blood, Stuart. And what am I? The man who built the Ellie Fund with you. The man who cleaned the house to prepare for a child. The man you once called your safe harbor. Silence. After a long moment, she grabbed a napkin, wiped her hands, picked up her bag. She walked to the door, pulled on her raincoat, paused, like she wanted to speak. But she didn't. She zipped up, opened the door, stepped out. The door clicked shut behind her, soft, but sharp enough to make my chest ache. I stared at the coffee cooling on the table. Light from the window cut across the surface, like a line between two seats once shared, now only one. I don't know what we'll say tonight. But I know this much. If neither of us changes, tomorrow, there'll be nothing left to say. That night, Natalie didn't come home late. But she didn't come home early either. The door opened close to 8. She walked in, hung her coat, set her shoes neatly, like always. But she didn't look at me. Didn't ask if I'd eaten. Didn't share a word about her class. Dinner was 2 takeout boxes. She set one down in front of me. We ate in silence. The fork tapping against plastic, steady, hollow, like the ticking of a countdown. I glanced at the table, the same corner where weekends once began, where she used to brew coffee, humming while I read the paper. Now, only faint cup rings marked the cold stone. Traces of intimacy, long gone. The next morning, Dylan showed up at the table, headphones around his neck, a box of stale cereal in hand. Hey, Stuart, saw that Bluetooth speaker in your room last night. Mind if I borrow it? Mine broke. I looked at him, not angry, not even surprised. Just empty, like wading through water, only to realize it had turned to wet cement. No, I'm using it. He shrugged. Chill, man. Just asking. He poured the milk, scrolled his phone. No apology, no awkwardness, as if this was his house, and I was just the tenant, trying not to get in the way. That afternoon, I checked the bank account again. 3 cash withdrawals, each exactly $200. Notes, personal expenses, not me. And Natalie had never mentioned them. The same week, Dylan had a new keyboard, new sneakers, a smart watch, identical to the one I'd once added to my cart, but never bought. Scrolling back, the pattern formed. Uber Eats, DoorDash, cash withdrawals. Piece by piece, the picture came together. Dylan was living here like a fully funded son. And the man paying for it wasn't allowed to say a word. That night, Natalie was folding clothes in the bedroom. I stood at the door. I need to ask. Don't dodge this. She paused. Didn't turn. The recent withdrawals. They were for Dylan, weren't they? Silence. Then a sigh. Yes, just a few essentials. I'll replace it later. With what money? From where? You took it from our joint account. Without asking. That's not a lack of transparency, Natty. That's a lack of respect. She set the clothes down. I just thought, if I don't help him, who will? I looked at her, voice low. And if you keep doing this, who'll be left to help you? Her lip trembled. She said nothing. I turned to leave. But in the hallway, I stopped. On the bookshelf, where I'd left some old things to give away, a small gift box. I opened it. Inside, a smartwatch. The exact one I'd once wanted. With a note. "Congratulations, little brother. I believe you'll get through this." Signed, Natalie. The same store logo I remembered from my own cart. I closed the box. Let out a dry laugh. Not angry. Not even sad. Some losses don't need to be stolen. They vanish the moment the person beside you stops standing with you. I sat in the living room long after Natalie went upstairs. The yellow lamp washed over the sofa I'd assembled myself. The cushion covers still her favorite gray-blue, now wrinkled, pushed to one side. I remembered something silly. Every time we argued, Natalie used to smooth that pillow, like a quiet attempt to keep some order. But this time, she didn't. 2 days later, Natalie said, "Dylan's moving in with a friend. He'll be gone soon." I nodded. Not relief, not anger, just hollow. I knew Dylan wasn't leaving because he understood, and Natalie wasn't staying because she realized what she'd done. He was gone, and we were cracked. The crack was now a fracture. That night, I came home late. The house was dark. I turned on the light. The dining table was empty, except for a folded note. "I need a few days to think. Don't worry about me. I just don't want us to keep hurting each other with silence." Next to it, her wedding ring, resting on a wooden coaster, the same kind she used for her Friday night wine. I sat down, stared at the ring. No tears, no fury, just the ache of an old room, where the tenant had moved out, but left everything behind. For a week, I lived alone. Came home, turned on every light, kept the TV running, not to watch, just to drown out the silence. I texted her once, "You okay?" No reply. One night, I woke at 3 a.m. A strange habit. Ever since the bank statement. I went to the kitchen, poured water. The quiet was heavy. I opened the low cabinet on the left, where Natalie kept her letters. The ones she wrote before we were married. Curved handwriting. Paper still scented with ink. I pulled one out, almost read it, then stopped. Instead, I opened the drawer below. For the first time in months, inside was the ultrasound photo. Natalie had kept it safe. On the back, her handwriting. "For Ellie, Mom promises to keep this family together." I froze, like something clenched my chest from the inside. The next morning, I sat down to write. I don't want a divorce, but I don't want to live in a marriage where I have to beg for respect. If you want to save this, I'll wait. But if not, let's be honest, so we can both be free. I folded the letter, placed it in an envelope, left it on the table, and I walked out, not to leave for good, but to finally breathe. That evening, I stopped by to pick up a few things. The house was still silent. I turned on the lamp. On the table, next to my letter, a brown paper bag. No name, no note. I opened it. Inside, the smartwatch. The one I'd always wanted. Still sealed. I sat down, stared at the watch, then at the unopened letter, and I realized, sometimes, you don't know if you're being forgiven or being let go. I took the watch back to my new apartment, a place quiet enough to hear myself think, and empty enough not to remind me of anything. I set it beside the unopened letter, both of them lying there, like questions no one dared to answer. 3 days later, Natalie texted, "I want to meet, not to blame. Just to understand, one last time, if it has to be." We chose the same cafe as before, the one where we once celebrated the pregnancy. Same corner table, same bell on the door when someone walked in. But between us now was a distance no ruler could measure. Natalie arrived on time, eyes tired, an envelope in her hand. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. About Dylan, about the account, about things you had every right to know. I thought, if I stayed quiet long enough, it would all fix itself." She placed the envelope on the table. I stayed silent. She slid it toward me. "This is my personal account statement. I use that money, not the joint account. I know you checked, but maybe you didn't notice the account holder's name." I opened it, scanned the first line. My chest tightened. The transactions matched, but the account wasn't mine, not ours. I looked up. "You used your own money." Natalie nodded, eyes wet. "I didn't want you to feel burdened. You already carried so much. I just wanted to keep my brother close for a while." But I didn't realize that by holding Dylan in, I was pushing you out. I had no words. Part of me wanted to reach across and hold her. Another part wanted to laugh bitterly at how quickly I'd assumed betrayal. I thought she broke my trust, but maybe I was the one who broke hers first. She hesitated, then whispered, "The watch. It wasn't for Dylan. It was for you, our anniversary." I remembered you looking at it, then putting it back, saying, "Not now, maybe later." I left it, not to force you back, but because I didn't know how else to say, "I still think of you." My head dropped, chest heavy. I blamed her silence, but I never asked, what was that silence made of? I thought I'd been abandoned, but maybe I was the one who left her first. We sat in stillness. The server set down a water carafe, asked softly if we needed anything else, then stepped away. The bell at the door rang again. Time moved differently inside that cafe. Natalie placed her hand on the envelope. "I told Dylan last week. Therapy and self-support within 3 months, or he leaves. He chose to leave. I cut the money. I know. I should have told you from the start." She unfolded another slip. "A group therapy receipt. Payer, Natalie. I joined a support group last month. I didn't tell you, because admitting I had to learn to stop saving my brother meant admitting I'd already left you alone." I sank into my chair. The room seemed wider, my seat smaller. "I thought you chose him over me," I said quietly. "But maybe you just chose the wrong way to hold on to what was left of family." She gave a faint, sad smile. "After we lost the baby, I thought if I cared for someone else hard enough, it would fill the gap. I was wrong. And the worst part, I left you alone with your grief." I stared at my hands, rough from fixing shelves, lifting furniture. I'd always been good at repairing things, except people. With them, I went silent. I thought I was strong, but really, I just stood at a distance. And if you hand me that ring again someday, I'm afraid it'll be to give it back. My voice trembled. Natalie froze. Her eyes shone, but the tears didn't fall. "The watch. I bought it on our anniversary. I remembered you wanted it, then walked away. I thought, the day you felt worthy of receiving a gift, I'd give it to you. I never got the chance." I set my new apartment key on the table, next to the envelope. "I can't move back into the old house. Not yet. Not because of you. Because if we return as the same people, nothing will change." Natalie nodded. "I don't want to go back to being that version of me either." I spoke clearly. Boundaries with Dylan. No support, no co-living. Money, separate and transparent. Therapy, individual and joint. Weekly, home, apart for 60 days. Meetings only in neutral places. Kids, off the table, until the emotional house has a foundation. "I'm not leaving you, Nat. I'm leaving the way we treated each other." She nodded, reached for her ring. "Keep it for 60 days. If we still choose each other, I'll wear it again. If not, return it to the man I once loved deeply." I took it, cold against my warm hand. "All right, but these 60 days, we don't wait. We work." Duh. We stepped outside the cafe. The Pittsburgh air was hazy, mist falling like rain. An old couple walked past, hand in hand, eyes forward, steps in sync. I watched them and understood. Staying together isn't about having no distance. It's about keeping the same rhythm. At the corner, we parted ways. I went back to my apartment, placed the ring inside the wooden box, beside the letter and the watch, still sealed. I strapped it on. The screen lit up, asking for time zone. I set it to Pittsburgh, then added another zone, day 0. Some things don't need rewinding. They just need to begin, from exactly where you're standing. Day 1 of day 0 didn't feel much different. Same small third-floor apartment. Same parking lot below. Same jazz drifting up from the balcony downstairs. But when I woke, there was no sound of water in the bathroom. No cup of tea steaming on the table. The room felt bigger, and my breathing felt smaller. The first 3 weeks, we kept the rules. No meetings outside therapy. No talk about Dylan, unless it was about boundaries. No daily check-ins. One night, I stood on the balcony, looked toward the old house. The living room light flicked on, then off. I remembered Natalie's habit, turning the lamp on whenever it rained, just to make the space warmer. The sight touched something in me, not a bleeding wound, but a bruise that lingered. At our first therapy session, the doctor asked, If today were your last meeting, what unfinished thing would each of you carry away? Natalie. I want him to know. I never chose anyone over him. I just didn't know how to keep both. Me. I want her to know. I never stopped loving her. But sometimes, I love by disappearing, thinking that would lighten her load. The doctor nodded. Loving each other while being afraid to bother each other makes it hard to grow together. Week 4, Dylan called me. Stuart, I'm crashing at a friend's place, but it won't last. Can you loan me some money? I'll pay you back. I took a deep breath. I won't send money, but I can give you a list of support groups and part-time jobs. If you need, I'll call ahead. His voice hardened. You're acting like you were never family. Didn't think you'd end up just like the people who left me. I held the line a few seconds, then hung up, light in my chest, because I held the boundary. Heavy, because I knew Natalie was getting the same calls. Week 6, therapy got sharper. Natalie said, I still can't sleep alone. Every night I wonder, are you wearing the watch? I nodded. I wear it, not to remember you, but to remember why we're doing this. She stared at me. I'm scared we're learning how to live well, without each other. I answered, if we can live well apart, then choosing each other is the only choice that counts. Saturday night, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Do you know your wife is having dinner with another man? Attached photo. Blue light from my phone reflected off my shaking hand. Natalie, sitting across from a man in his 40s. Gray hair. Dress shirt. They were smiling. A glass of red wine between them. Not strangers. Not distant. My chest pounded, like fists hammering a door. Half of me wanted to call right away. The other half remembered the therapist's words. Distance is where you test if trust can be rebuilt. I shut the screen, but my palm stayed damp. The phone felt twice as heavy. I sat in the dark for nearly an hour. Just the sound of cars outside. The photo in my pocket, like a stone. Not crushing, but always there. At last I texted, when you're free, let's meet. Just one question. She replied right away. Tomorrow. Novia, eh? Cafe near the park. Next morning, cold mist in the air. She arrived first. Same long gray coat. Hair tied up, but her eyes swollen. We ordered coffee, silent until the cups touched the table. I laid my phone down, the photo facing her. I want to hear it from you, not anyone else. Natalie looked, didn't flinch, exhaled. That's Mark, from the support group. He lost a child too. That night was the anniversary of ours. We had dinner to remember, and not remember alone. I sat wordless, turning the cup until a drop spilled over the rim. Dark brown water spreading across the table, like my chest. Too full, too close to spilling. Why didn't you tell me? Because I knew, even with an explanation, that image was enough to plant doubt. And I wanted you to practice trust, even when you had a reason not to. I met her eyes. I'm learning to trust. But trust doesn't mean I'm not afraid. She nodded, leaned slightly forward. If you want, I'll introduce you to Marky. But are you ready to hear his story? Her question left me quiet. I realized trust isn't only forgiving. It's being steady enough to step into what you can't control. Give me time, I said. We agreed. If we meet anyone, friends, coworkers, therapy partners, we say it up front, not for permission, but so the other doesn't have to guess. And we'd add one therapy session, just for this. Before we left, Natalie said, I don't want you to feel like I'm testing you. I just want us to choose each other without force, not out of fear. I answered, then we continue. Outside, the mist had lifted, the sun faint but visible. We walked off in different directions. No hug, no hand held. But my steps felt lighter than the night before. That night, I reopened the photo. Below it, another message from the same number. If you want the truth, call me. There are things she hasn't told you. I stared at it for a long time. Didn't call. Not because I didn't want to know, but because I wanted the truth from Natalie when she was ready. Some answers, if you get them too soon, kill the chance to rebuild trust at all. I shut the screen, set the watch beside my bed. The date glowed back. Day 41. 19 days left to learn if this trust was a sapling or an old tree once cut down, trying to grow back from the root. Day 60 came on a Tuesday morning. Pittsburgh had rained the night before. Maple leaves stuck flat to the pavement, like time trying to hold on to what had already passed. but the wind still blew, carrying each leaf away. I didn't plan it. I just drove back to the old house. The white paint still fresh. The wooden fence newly coated. Something both familiar and foreign. The door opened. Natalie stood on the porch. In her hands, the wooden box I'd given her on day 0. Beside it, a sealed envelope. "I didn't know you'd come today," she said. "Neither did I." The watch just said it was time. We walked into the living room. Same old armchair, same crooked bookshelf in the corner. But on the table, a ceramic pot we once used for mint. This time, fresh soil, and from it, a small green sprout. Straight, bright, alive. "I planted it on day 0, she said. "Didn't know if it would live. But I tried." I opened the box. The wedding ring still inside, catching the morning light. Natalie picked it up, placed it in my hand. I held it tight, almost slipped it on, but her hand pressed mine down. She shook her head. "If you wear it today, I'm afraid it'll be for these 60 days, not for the 60 years ahead." My heart raced, then slowed. I set the ring back in the box. "I'm not ready to wear it again, but I want it closer than it's been these past 60 days." She nodded. "I'm not ready either, but at least now, I'm not afraid to say that." She opened the envelope, handed it to me. Inside, 2 train tickets to the coast. Just a day's ride away, not a vacation. Just a trip, to see if we can still talk about something other than fixing or therapy. I smiled faintly. Simple, but it felt like a fair test. Before I left, I looked once more at the pot. The same one we'd left outside years ago, winter killing everything inside. Now, new soil, new care. "Trust is like that," I said. "Not too much water, not neglect. Just patience and consistency." She smiled softly. "Then let's hope we both learn it." I stepped outside. The sun had broken through. In the rearview mirror, Natalie still stood on the porch, her hand resting gently on the wooden box. A beam of light caught the edge of it, and her eyes. "I don't know what we'll be 6 months from now, a year, 5 years, but for the first time in a long time." I didn't need the answer right away. Some things, if you force a conclusion too soon, you kill the chance to let them write their own next chapter. I turned the wheel, drove off the street. The watch on my wrist ticked over to day 61. Not an ending. Not exactly a beginning. Just a continuation.